Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm April Martinez.
And I am Misana Ketano.
And good morning, Belize. Thank you so much for joining us on this lovely Monday morning. Thank you so much for starting your morning right here with us on Open Your Eyes at Channel 5. Good morning, Isani.
Hey, April. Good morning.
How are you today?
Man, I'm good. I'm good. I'm rejuvenated. I'm excited for the week ahead. Mentally prepared and physically prepared.
Okay, I like
take on all the challenges of the next few days.
I like to hear that. I was just telling Vianney that 48 hours is not enough to recuperate from a 5-day work schedule, but I'm glad one of us is rejuvenated this early morning.
In other jurisdictions, their labor laws have been amended to allow for a longer stand-down period, right?
Yeah.
Whereas we're working 5 days to get 2 days off. Some of them work 4 days and get 3, so on and so forth, right?
Depends on the hours, right? I think that if you make a certain amount of hours, it doesn't matter how many days of the week you put in. But I guess the way the world is now working itself post-COVID, and I can say post-COVID now, right? People are no longer going back to that 8 to 5 days a week schedule. Not everybody, I should say. And I don't know.
I wish I had that reprieve during the COVID pandemic, that I would have been able to work from home only a few days of the week and so on and so forth.
Media is different.
It was around the clock.
Media. I think that when we were talking about frontline workers, of course, we had our medical personnel, we had our police personnel, our teachers. We kind of forget that in the midst of all of this, the persons that were giving you the news every single day were the media that never actually went home to rest either. So we do have that odd space in all of these blurred lines of different occupations, right? But we thank you all so much for joining us this morning. We had a jam-packed weekend of events in Belize, and also part of the post-COVID era where almost every weekend there is something to do. I don't know if I've ever come on this show on a Monday and said, well, nothing happened this weekend. You know, and of course...
that's all the indication one needs to realize that we're back at a full state of normalcy.
Full state of normalcy is my take on it, because you can't go back, Isani. I think that we're somewhere different now, and I know that some people say we go back to this state of normalcy, or we go back to the way things were, but I don't believe that you can ever go back. You went through, the entire world went through this experience of having to adapt to this difference. And you can't go back after you done had 2 years of something else. It's very difficult.
I'd beg to differ. I'd beg to differ. Prior to COVID, we had a certain standard of living. Along with that were specific expectations of how we interact and how we go about carrying. The pandemic slowed that down considerably. Many of us were indoors. We can't really get around the way we would have been used to prior to this event. After the pandemic, we're back to where we were. I could get up and go anywhere. Instead of texting or calling you, I could visit you in person. I could go to the store and not feel as if though, you know, there needs to be 6 feet or a mask or sanitizing my hands after everything. I mean, those are still responsibilities that each of us should practice or live up to. But it doesn't feel as stringent as it was during the pandemic
But I
itself.
will do one better. For instance, things like if a person is far away or several persons are far away, you want to host a meeting, you could just do that virtually now. And there is no difference now in saying that could have been a Zoom meeting or everybody congregate into one space to have a meeting. You can have something successful, or even here on the show where if our guests cannot make it in person, they join us live from somewhere else in the comfort of their own home. So some things have had to adapt and change.
Yes,
and
technology,
well,
the pandemic
now, right?
expedited certain aspects of technology and innovation, right? And
Yeah.
so while we were stuck on physical presence in terms of meeting and so on and so forth, the pandemic forced us to transition to, you know, virtual appearances and what have you.
But, you know, Isani, apart from all of that, one of the things that did stay constant throughout the pandemic and up until this weekend was the Queen of the Bay pageant of 2023. And of course, we want to say a big congratulations to none other than Miss Kendall Morgan, who won she's from Belize Rural, and she is our next Queen of the Bay, or our new delegate, right? Our new standing. She hasn't been crowned yet. She's going to be crowned this week, I believe.
There should be a coronation event
yes,
in the days ahead.
But we want to say a congratulations to her, and of course to all of the delegates. I believe she was followed by Stan Creek Rural, and then Belmopan. So those were our top 3 delegates, and we want to say a congratulations. They were here on Friday, last week Friday, and they all did a super job in presenting themselves and so forth. So just want to say a congratulations to her. I think that courtesy thing is the thing that won everybody over, right? I really don't know how they judge these things. I should have asked Dwayne, because at the end of the day, there's poise, there is how you answer certain questions, there is the way you carry yourself, it's your smile, making sure that you don't shake when you're going down and coming up. There's all of these different etiquette things that come with the Queen of the Bay, but we want to say a congratulations to Miss Kendall Morgan. But Isani, we do have to move on with our show for this morning, and of course we bring you the Eye on the News like we do every Monday morning. This is the Eye on the News.
On Friday evening, we led our newscast with a discovery of an arsenal of firearms that were shipped to Belize. And the fact that a police investigation is underway to determine either who the sender was or who the recipient would have been in terms of the shipping of these weapons, right? The broader conversation that I want to have today is in the wake of a murder that took place last night. A rather high-profile individual was shot and killed in Belize City last night in what appears to be a gangland execution. The two things are not connected. It's only to say that there is a flood of illegal weapons in this country that are being used to commit these heinous crimes, right? That's the parallel that I'm drawing here, is that the proliferation of illegal weapons into the country is what fuels these feuds that end in bloodbath. When you look at what transpired last night, well, I woke up to the news of it this morning, of the killing of Orel Leslie. Now, Mr. Leslie is no stranger to the law. He has a criminal background, notwithstanding the fact that he was also the proprietor of a pharmacy here in Belize City. Now, the understanding is that when they went for Mr. Leslie, they went for him with high-powered, high-caliber weapons, right? And it's a most unfortunate scenario, despite whomever the players are involved in this killing. This individual has a family, he has loved ones, right? And I make the point that we don't normally speak of crime and violence matters on this particular segment. It's only to show, as I mentioned earlier, the fact that these crimes are being committed with illegal firearms, right? And the fact that we just saw on Friday this discovery of weapons. We also reported on Friday, well, it happened earlier in the week, but the recovery of the M4 carbine that was stolen from Camp Belisario in Cayo District. And undoubtedly, that weapon was intended for use on the streets of Belize City, not by the BDF, but it would have been in the hands of civilians, right? So you're looking at a particular landscape at this point that is quite volatile. We're on the heels of a state of emergency that just came to an end last week, and we're beginning this week with a high-profile killing, and we are not certain what the consequences of this will be in terms of it triggering another series of reprisals and what have you.
Yeah. Not to mention, we just, like you said, this state of emergency has just lifted. I would hate to see that the retaliation would come right after this. I know that it is something that we say it make common sense, right? Of course this won't happen because now that we have this case going on. But when these things happen, I think that everybody forgets about the collateral damage and everybody else in the way and that gets hurt in all of this are regular civilians, persons that are not involved in these kinds of matters, and it makes the job of the police much harder when these weapons cannot be traced to any one person or to any one space. So my question now for our persons in authority, how do we control this matter? How do we get ahead of it before it begins something that we know is going to be regrettable afterwards? And I know we don't have the answers to that. We don't have the people here in front of us to ask that question to, but that is what makes these cases harder. We spoke to Compol a couple of weeks prior to why is it that we can't get these violent crimes off the street? Because they can't trace the weapons. These bullets are not registered. They're not for licensed gun owners. So how do we get ahead of something that we can't physically see, Isani?
Well, that's an interesting thing you're bringing up there. I mean, I don't know that you could ever bring crime and violence to zero. It's a constant effort to be able to enforce the law and to be able to implement preventative measures in some cases. But, you know, it's not a situation where you could say Belize City, for instance, will be altogether crime-free. That's an ideal. It's not necessarily the reality. And if you look at what's taking place in Belize City, where, again, if you look at the existing climate and the landscape, it's divided into very specific groups who have long-standing feud and rivalry amongst themselves. And again, if from what I'm being made to understand, the actors who are behind this execution, then it could very well lead to another spate of gang-related shootings, right? So it's difficult. It's a matter of perhaps trying to get a handle on the situation, but it's not as if though you're putting a lid on it and that's the end-all be-all. I mean, we're living in a city where these things have become, and I hate to use the word commonplace, but you know, it's almost a way of life for many of the young men
as
out
someone
here.
that has been covering this for quite an extensive amount of years, Isani, what's the motive? And that's something that I always ask myself when I see these rivalries and these wars happen here in the city. I watch it on the news, and I always wonder why. What is the motive of a turf war, or what is the motive behind these kinds of issues? I know you're gonna say it's for feud or rivalry and so, but to what end? What is the purpose?
Well, that's not a question I can answer. I'll be perfectly honest in saying that. I cover it as a reporter, right? I really haven't dug down into the root causes of these rivalries. I guess by neighborhood, they have their own specific reasons why they're going at each other. I know that if we're talking the broad picture, some would argue, and the Ministry of Home Affairs has put forward that a lot of these rivalries are based on the sale of marijuana. I am not saying that this is the case in this particular instance. I'm saying that from a broader perspective, it has been attributed to the sales of cannabis, right? But a lot of it also has to do with what we describe loosely as old beef, right? Matters that happened way back that are carried forward, that people continue to hold on to, particularly when lives are lost. People don't forget. People don't say, well, you know what, I will reform and move away from that. It's a reality that they have to live with. On either end of that situation, be it the perpetrator or the families of the victims and what have you. So, I mean, you look at it, there are a lot of dynamics, you know, in terms of various factors at play that lead to this kind of a violent outcome.
So, in terms of, well, this ordeal just happened late last night, and we will be following it.
Certainly.
But, back to the illegal handling of weapons within our country.
We've long been reporting that, you know, for the most part, and what makes this particular instance unique in a sense is because these are weapons that were perhaps legally shipped from the United States, right?
You're not coming through the border like...
Yeah, it's not a situation where, again, as I was alluding to earlier, we've long reported on the fact that because our terrestrial borders are so porous, guns are coming in from Mexico, from Guatemala, so on and so forth. But in a case like this cache of weapons was shipped in from Miami, Florida. Right?
Like a regular barrel where they come forgive your friends.
Precisely, right? And, I mean, for all intents and purposes, these are illegal weapons in Belize, right? I don't know that people would readily get a license for an AK-47 style weapon or a high caliber weapon.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's the case, that you would be able to actually get a license to be able to own and use one of these kinds of weapons, right? So it's a lot, man, when you sit down and you really look at the circumstances, the everyday circumstances that we're living in. I mean, it's a difficult situation, but it's a reality.
It kind of alluded me to the question of how do we buy legal weapons in the country, and how do we, because I don't have a license or a gun to own one, but how do you buy and purchase weapons here as a licensed owner, right? Is it something that somebody that has a license, you know, ordered?
Well, there's a process.
You know,
there's a process that involves the Belize Police Department from the start to the end. In terms of the purchase, the license, and everything, it has to go through the police department. And the issue of gun licenses has been one where it has been covered extensively over the past several months based on how persons are able to obtain a gun license, right? And the process has been criticized and called to question in terms of the way that persons are able to acquire these licenses. But yeah, I mean, I can't tell you what the specific, you know, processes are or what have you. But in terms of that, I'm simply saying that you would have to go through the Belize Police Department. They will vet you in terms of either if you have a criminal record or the express purpose for, you know, wanting a gun license, and so on and so forth.
But even so, and even so, even if this was a way of somebody that is a licensed gun holder, that's far too many weapons for a particular license. I know you have to be able to have a particular license in order to hold X amount of guns and and the type of gun as well, and the amount of cartridge it uses, right? So for me, I am curious to know how they're going to handle the person that ordered the entire package itself, and of course the persons that shipped it, right? Because of course that is an illegal matter all around. You're dealing with port system. You're dealing with the persons that are on the other side of the coin, the persons that are from Miami, the persons that are from here, and how we handle these kinds of matters. How could it slip through the hands of the persons that shipped it in the first place?
Well, it goes back to what I was saying. Perhaps it was legally shipped from the United States. You all know that, you know, guns are legally bought and sold in the U.S. I mean, you know, that's enshrined in their constitution, the right to bear arms. So you could walk into a gun store and legally purchase a firearm, and you say, okay, well, I'll send it to my brother in Belize. I don't know. I'm just putting that out there that it could have been done legally from one end, but upon arrival here, we know that those weapons, you know, wouldn't ordinarily be, you know, something where you could apply for that and say, well, okay, I bought this or what have you. So yeah.
I'm curious to see where this story is going to lead now.
Well, as we mentioned, there's an ongoing investigation. I'm certain that when we speak with the police department in our weekly press brief, that this question will come up, and of course, we will be learning more about the incident involving Mr. Leslie as well, and several other incidents that took place over the weekend here in Belize City and elsewhere in the country. But yes, that does it for this morning's ION News. Details of these stories and more you will be able to catch at 6 o'clock in our live newscast. If you're not in front of your television, you can also catch our content being streamed on Facebook and YouTube. That does it for the ION News.
And as we move on with our show for this morning, we are going to have that weather update for you all in just a minute. Very weird weather this weekend. I don't know about you guys, but it was very hot and sunny in Belmopan, like half of the day, and then just this storm of thunder and lightning and winds came later on in the afternoon leading into the evening, and then it just continued to drizzle up until the night. So it was this very odd climate situation happening, and I think Saturday as well, it was that on and off hot rainy situation. But I do know that there are some systems brewing up in our in the east. So I'm hoping to see some updates from the Weather Bureau this morning, just to give us a little bit of a taste of what we can expect throughout the day. Good morning. Good morning. So we are about to get that update for you this morning. Here is that update from the Meteorological Service.
All right.
As we continue to wait for that update, I'm not sure. There were a couple, I do believe there was the Tropical Storm Franklin in Dominican Republic that was giving us that bit of rain Friday. I'm not really sure where he went after Friday. And I know there were some other systems up on the East Coast and on the West Coast of the United States as well. I know there was a hurricane that was brewing up all the way into Canada, which personally, I still find that that's strange that we have hurricanes that are going all the way up that north when it's supposed to be
Nothing is strange anymore, April.
Climate change is real, people. It is real. But we have the update ready for you, and here is that update now.
Good morning, Belize. A light southwesterly airflow prevails and Tropical Storm Idalia moves further north of the region. The 24-hour forecast for Belize and her coastal waters calls for sunny skies today with a few cloudy spells, and high temperatures today are expected to reach 90 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, to 95 inland and 82 over the mountains. Tonight, the skies will be partly cloudy to cloudy with low temperatures of 81 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, to 74 inland and 68 in the higher elevations. Showers and thunderstorms will be isolated and remain offshore today. Then tonight and tomorrow morning, expect a few showers and isolated thunderstorms to develop mainly over northern and southern areas. The winds will blow from the southwest at 5 to 15 knots and the sea state will be light sharp. A high tide occurs at 7:03 a.m. followed by a low at 2:42 p.m. Another high occurs at 8:55 tonight and a low at 1:38 a.m. The sun rose at 5:38 a.m. and set at 6:09 p.m. The moon comes up at 4:30 this evening and set at 3:58 tomorrow morning. The outlook for Tuesday and Tuesday night is for a few afternoon showers and isolated thunderstorms to develop mainly over inland and southern areas. In the sargassum forecast, the chances of new sargassum mats drifting on our beaches during the next few days will remain low. And in the tropical weather outlook, at 6 a.m., tropical storm Idalia was centered about 90 miles south of the western tip of Cuba. Idalia was moving north at 8 miles per hour with maximum sustained winds of 65 miles per hour. At 3 a.m., Franklin, a major hurricane, was centered about 505 miles southwest of Bermuda. Franklin was moving to the north-northwest at 8 miles per hour with maximum sustained winds of 115 miles per hour. And that's your morning forecast that was prepared here at the National Meteorological Service.
All right, thank you so much, Catherine Cumberbatch, for that update. So Tropical Storm Franklin is officially a hurricane, and then we have Tropical Hurricane Idalia following right behind. So that is the cause of the weather conditions here in the country. So do your best to be prepared, stay dry. We are definitely still in the hurricane season, so please be as alert as possible. Masani, we have a packed show lined up for today, and we begin our first conversation with the Women's Commission, and they're here to talk to us all about their Boys and Girls Equality Initiative. So we'll have them on the show this morning to speak more about that.
Our second segment is also with the Belize Coast Guard, as they discuss with us their Coast Guard family and what all that entails in terms of the activities that they are engaged with.
And of course, for wrapping up our show, it's all about back to school and conversations that are around that. And we're going to be having folks talk about the non-communicable diseases at their back to school expo. So that is going to be our final conversation. But before we get into all of that and more, we got to take the break, and we'll be back with Women's Commission support of Boys and Girls Equality Initiative.
Get ready, babe. We're going on a vacation.
Finally, where are we going?
Don't worry, babe. I have we covered.
Are you sure you know where we're going?
Yes, babe. Oh, right there, see? Babe, the price me too good to be true. Me look much more better in that picture.
When life throws you a curveball, Belize Bank has your back. With our online financing, you can turn any vacation mishap into a dream getaway.
Cheers to Belize Bank for making our dream vacation a reality.
Thanks to you, babes, to turn things around.
No thanks to you, cheapo.
Ouch.
Experience the future of financing with Belize Bank online, where you can secure funds for anything, from anywhere, at any time. all without stepping foot in a bank. Apply for a loan today and unlock a world of possibilities.
Visit Benny's today to get all your household and construction needs, from tiles to paints, electrical and plumbing supplies to power tools, lights and fans to kitchen appliances and faucets, gym equipment to household items. We have what you need. We also offer store-wide promotions for you, our customers, so you can enjoy deals and discounts all year long. To get more value for your purchase, take advantage of Benny's B-Bucks, which is free money. All you have to do is shop at any Benny's location or entity. Stop in at Benny's Home Center on Regent Street, Benny's Bargain Center on Freetown Road, Benny's Superstore 2.5 miles Philip Golson Highway, or Benny's Cayo 43 miles George Price Highway just outside Belmopan. Enjoy special offers, free delivery, and get rewarded with free money when you shop at Benny's today. Benny's, quality and savings.
Make your summer better. Over $30,000 in cash and prizes with Smart Summer Sweepstakes. Here's how you can enter for a chance to win. Sign up for a smart postpaid, broadband, or VoIP plan. Use $100 or more regular prepaid credit. Do a SIM swap or text in to the shark code 786. In the body of the message, enter the number of entries you would like to purchase.
No waste no time. You can be the winner of weekly prizes. All methods give you more chances to win local airline tickets, overnight stays at numerous resorts, cash prizes, gift certificates, and much, much more. One lucky person will win the grand prize valued at $10,000, courtesy of Smart and the Belize Tourism Board.
Promotion ends September 15. So make your summer better by getting in the race to win with Smart's Summer Sweepstakes. Smart, bringing people together.
Keycocker, San Pedro, and Belize City are just a click away with Caribbean Sprinter. Avoid delays by getting your tickets and boarding passes online at sprinter.bz, and welcome aboard.
And welcome back. Our first conversation this morning is with our friends from the National Women's Commission. We have with us the Executive Director of the NWC, Ms. Michelle Irving. Good morning.
Good morning.
And she is joined by the Spotlight Consultant, Charlene Neal Tablada. Good morning.
Good morning.
We're discussing this morning the support that is being given by the National Women's Commission for boys and girls in the context of equality. Seemingly broad topic.
Yes.
Where would you guys want us to begin from?
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
As you said, my name is Shirley Neal Tablada. I've been working as a consultant with the Spotlight Initiative to eliminate violence against women and girls for the last 4 years. And so we want to couch the discussion within the context of violence against women and girls, of course, looking at the root cause of gender inequality as key. Just as a little background, the Spotlight Initiative to eliminate violence against women and girls is a United Nations initiative supported by the European Union. However, the strong focus is on supporting government, particularly agencies like the National Women's Commission and civil society, to really strengthen the national response in a comprehensive way, really providing that catalytic impact to really boost the national response to violence against women and girls. And so it is within that context that we really want to share this morning about some of the work we've been doing, in particular a campaign that we're rolling out at the national level to really stimulate some discussion, awareness, and consideration for change in practices and norms around violence against women and girls.
You know, it's an interesting initiative, and like Isani said, it's a very broad topic when we're talking about gender equality and equity, and of course the initiative of ending the violence against women and girls. How does that tie in to the boys and girls equality topic? Because we often have this, we have the 16 days of activism, we have an entire Women's Month where we have these kinds of conversations, and I'm very happy that we're having these conversations outside the scope of those initiatives, but how does it tie in to bringing that gender equality topic?
Well, yes, good morning, and thanks very much for the question. As you said, my name is Michelle Irving, and I am the Executive Director of the National Women's Commission. And as the name states, we focus somewhat on women empowerment, but more so on the issue of gender equity and equality, which is, we would say, the broader aspect, because both boys and girls, women and men, are affected by violence and are affected by gender norms and the constructs that make the society tell us who we are or how we should behave. And a lot of times, women should behave in general context, submissive, and men should behave dominant, you know. And when sometimes those things are switched, that's why we're talking about boys and girls, we have some issues where we have also boys experiencing some level of violence or gender inequality, because if we think about the construct of equity and equality as it relates to gender, we should look at it from the perspective that boys and girls, women and men, people are human beings and have all the rights of a human being. And sometimes we tend to stereotype, put people in a box. If you have some different issues, even if it relates to disability, even as it relates to where you come from, what area, if you're rural, urban, sometimes even your ethnic background tells a different story based on socialization. And sometimes those makes you prone to violence as a victim or a perpetrator. And so when we look at the numbers, though, we see that generally and across globally, and Belize is no exception, we see that the issue of gender-based violence affect women and girls disproportionately. In Belize, we have, as it relates to reported cases, 80% of the reported cases are by women and girls, right? And we know there's still a lot of underreporting. And so these campaigns are made to make the entire environment a bit more safer for the discussion, because some of the violence is even very tabooed. People are ashamed, they're afraid, they don't want to talk about it, they prefer to keep it to themselves because of the judgment, the condemnation that comes to them, the victim blaming sometimes. So we at the Commission try to ensure that we are working at the national level to create policies and programs, including, for example, the National Gender Policy that focuses on pillars that address some of the issues that programs like Spotlight is addressing, a great portion of which is gender-based violence.
How do we measure the effectiveness of such a campaign in the context of raising public awareness against the fact that even persons who fully know and understand and are aware of what GBV is are still perpetrating some of these very offenses against women? How do we gauge the effectiveness of these kinds of campaigns?
I think the effectiveness, in the long run, of course, you're looking at changing behavior and changing social norms, which is really long term. But in the medium and short term, what can be engaged is the social dialogue, the public dialogue that is stimulated, because, as Michelle rightly said, we talk a lot about violence against women and girls, we talk a lot about gender-based violence, but we talk less about the root causes, which are gender inequality and power imbalance. Whenever there is abuse, there is an imbalance of power. We need to recognize this and we need to start talking about this. A lot of times we say, oh, you know, don't beat your partner, don't hit, end violence now, stop. But I mean, those are okay messages. We're not bashing that, but we've not really delved at the root cause of what is this power imbalance that exists, why it exists, and challenging people to examine where does this come from? Why is this a norm? Why is it that you feel that this female is, you know, your possession, that you have the authority and ownership of this person to the extent that you can decide that you would hit her verbally, emotionally, and other types of abuse. So for us, it's in the first instance, the measurement would be how we're able to open wide that discourse, including the discourse on gender, which you know, a lot of people get it mixed up and don't want to talk about it. We need to start talking about gender inequality in this country. We need to talk about power imbalance. We need to talk about gender roles and norms that are existent within relationships, within households, that are all contributing to the violence that is that continues to rise. Michelle said 80%. I mean, the exact figures in terms of what 2022 said was 87% of the cases were reported by women, while only 13% were reported by men. So it continues to be that women are the survivors or victims, while men are the perpetrators. So we really want to start talking about these things, because we're not properly addressing the root causes.
Is there conversations in this line of putting these in a discourse in schools, and particularly in primary education, where every kid has to go to primary school, where these things are probably not taught, and of course it's not executed in the home?
Well, there are several things that currently, as we're working, you know, we have to see where we're at and what we're doing. Currently, as it relates to the campaign, we're doing a national tour, let's put it like that. We already conducted one in Belize City and San Pedro. In terms of, we looked at the numbers for the year, for the beginning of 2023, and saw where the reported cases were highest. And so we have a saying that says numbers no lie. So we look at those reported cases and say, well, something must be happening in these communities. And we are taking the campaign and the discourse to those communities to talk about gender-based violence, and especially the gender conversation. A lot of times, it is not on the you know, primary things that people talk about. It's kind of difficult, and a lot of times a lot of myths comes up as it relates to gender. So in the communities and in those conversations, with parents, with teachers, with community leaders, with the one in Belize City, we had a lot of police officers, we had a lot of people who are heads of CSOs, community-based organization. So in themselves, they're already teachers, trainers, you know, they're already interfacing with the communities, and they themselves carry some myths and some bias and some baggages. And so a very good question you're asking now, how do we address, to my mind, I would think from preschool level, to talk about those issues that are considered norms and considered, you know, accepted socially, how boys should behave and how girls should behave. And so I think that's the real intervention. And so currently there are some little pockets, I would say, that there are some pockets that maybe in social studies, in HFLE program, to whatever extent, Ms. Shirley have a lot of experience in that, to whatever extent it exists. And maybe in some cases, it is not really addressing the root cause, but maybe addressing some of the symptoms, maybe like good touch, bad touch. For example, those are symptomatic of how to avoid being a victim as opposed to looking at some of the gender norms. So I think we're slowly getting there. Right. And I think that I think the dialogue between the Ministry of Education and other partners is pretty much ongoing, where then we would be able to then develop an entire, you know, relevant program, especially when we do, and I would say a kind of assessment coming out of the community level, where parents are at, where community leaders are at, so that when we go back in those communities, those things would be supported because they would understand the need for it.
Yeah, I'm glad that you, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add to that because you asked specifically about schools in terms of the campaign.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, by the way, the name of the campaign or the slogan is it ends with me. So really challenging every sphere of society to take personal responsibility and accountability for ending violence. And there are 5 specific target audiences. The school is one of them. And the key message in terms of the focus for the school is support girls and boys equally, to set goals, challenge gender stereotypes, and realize their dreams. It's a mouthful, but big because it's vast in terms of where you want the focus to be in schools. In addition to schools, another target audience is families, because, well, we know within households we want to stimulate that type of discussion and awareness. Community leaders and communities, workplaces, and policy and decision makers. And the campaign is designed in such a way that there are really strong communication assets designed for each of those target audience that will be disseminated in specific ways to the various target audience for which they were designed, to ensure that it's a multi-pronged approach and that we're not just focusing on one target audience, but across the country we're drilling down to the various groups.
It's very difficult to change the behavior of people. And so I do commend the campaign a lot. And I'm glad that you mentioned it's going by a community-based effort as well, because yes, you can teach the child, but then they go home. And as much as we want to believe that we are in this new era, it's 2023, why are we still talking about gender-based violence? We're supposed to know better, right? But there are certain behavioral traits that even myself, that I am somebody that's pro equity, but sometimes I catch myself, they maybe be a little bit biased or be a little bit judgmental. So then how do we start to help us as the adults chip away at these kinds of social behaviors?
That's a good one, because like you say, behavior change, social change, and I have someone that we're always talking about change, and even using the word revolution, and talk about how do you, because when you use the word revolution, it's a complete complex change in all the elements, and we start to understand that even we're all tainted by our social realities, and a lot of times even when we want to change, even when we think we change, Monday, Tuesday we do good, and by Wednesday, think about it when you go on a diet, right? Yeah. And by Wednesday, think, that cake, it's not that bad, And so we try to justify ourselves. And so behavior change is difficult, and it takes a long time. But I think that we can't give up in terms of, continue bringing the messages to all the different I would say agents of socialization, and having them as partners in believing that some of these things are reinforcing gender norms and contributing to the construct of, for example, somebody said, well, you need to have a man because he needs to protect you. And so the person, and this goes about in some of the quarters, and they say, well, protect you from who? Another man, because then that's the violence, who we see, or perpetration of violence, because it is accepted for a lot of times men to respond with violence. And a lot of times too, men get a huge, when it comes to, for example, in the home, when it comes to punishment or discipline, physical violence is used a lot, especially against boys, for example, because the idea, I'll beat you so that police no arrest you, and those kinds of things. But that creates another kind of anger, another kind of pattern of behavior. So if someone is in control of you and physical violence is used to correct your behavior, when you become in control of someone, which may be your family, then physical violence is also used to control the behavior that you deem to be appropriate, you know. So those are definitely some of the things that happen, and all of us are tainted by our social realities. And so it takes a level of ongoing conversation, ongoing support, ongoing messages, like what we see in the campaign, to then have that dialogue. So you want people not to maybe feel guilty, but to recognize their behavior, or that guilt could lead you to recognition of behavior, and then say, it ends with me. This type of behavior ends with me, and a new behavior begins with me. And while we may not be perfect, but we continue to walk along that line of change. And I think that's what is important.
One of the things I wanted to add to that, when you talk about behavior change, actually that's my area of study. Really key, what we found out on the campaign trail, as we were working to design the campaign, doing the research and dialogue with the communities, because it's not just, you know, top of the head. We really did research and dialogue with communities to understand the behaviors and what was driving the behavior. And a lot of the things around these norms has to do with the peer influence, because what we found out is that change is happening, you know, especially, for example, we have a particular video that talks about challenging gender roles, the role of male, and encouraging men to take on more responsibility for caregiving within the home, because there is data, for example, from the 2015 multiple indicator cluster survey that says that only 23% of men participate in child development in the home. That's evidence that we used and we discussed. And we found out on the ground that many men are involved in household responsibilities. They're taking it on, they're helping with the things that, you know, you would say, oh, well, that's traditionally a woman's responsibility. A lot of that has shifted. Men are helping with the cooking, with the cleaning, with the caregiving. But when men sit down to discuss with other men because of the perceived actions of other men, they're like, Choboy, you crazy? Me not do that. You know, me wear the pants in the house. You understand? You think say me going to cook, or you think I going to wash? That's how they spin it off. And so if I am the man in the relationship who is there helping, who is making sure that I am taking on my responsibility, I shut up, and I might very well perpetuate to my peers the same idea that I'm not supposed to do these things. So we are seeing change, but because in society there's a level of discomfort to come out to say we are performing those roles. If I ask you, Isan, I mean, not to put you on the spot.
I'll gladly respond. I'll gladly respond, and I'm laughing because a lot of times it's treated as if though it's a taboo topic, or it's something that men shouldn't be engaged in, because you sit around a table, you're having a drink with your guys or what have you, and then if they find out that, oh, well, I was doing the dishes, or I helped my child with his homework, or I was sweeping the house, oh, you're the house husband. As if though there's something wrong with that.
Yeah, it's your home. This
exactly.
is our home. This
it's
is
an
our
environment
household.
that you're creating.
Exactly.
And everybody within that environment have a certain role or responsibility. And so it's only fair. What is unfair is if, for instance, you have your spouse who is in the kitchen cooking, she still has to look after the children, and then you're expecting that your clothes are clean and the laundry has been done. That's unreasonable.
Exactly, but see, we talk about power imbalance and inequality at the very core of violence against women and girls, because there are still many situations within this country where when a male comes home from working hard and there is no food on the table, or you know, the wife has not completed certain chores, or not just the wife, the partner, whoever within that home, they are subject to violence because there is an expectation, as opposed to having a conversation about how do we create that environment within our household where there's equality, where there's shared responsibility. And a lot of people are not having this conversation, and the minute you put the conversation on the table, yes, it becomes uncomfortable, and we go back to our deeply rooted behaviors and norms because that's the way that we were raised.
I want to dig a little bit deeper before we come out of this rabbit hole, right? And I know that we're having these conversations about education, you know, violence against girls and so forth, and the collaboration that Spotlight and UNESCO is having with the Women's Commission. But is there conversations about lack of labor and poverty? And I ask that because in a lot of our rural societies, it is very this unbalanced lifestyle of the man brings home the money and the woman stays home and takes care of the home. We're still very much in that society here in Belize, particularly in our rural areas. So, for instance, the man does not feel confident as being the caregiver, the provider of the home. He turns to alcoholism because really there is nothing else, no solace, no comfort in anything else. There is violence in the home. Perhaps he can't get a job, so he feels like he has failed as a provider. So all of these societal pressures on the male figure brings him to lash out at his family. So are we talking about labor? Are we talking about poverty affecting these kinds of homes and the way that this conversation should be shifted?
I think that's why we're talking about gender equity and equality, because we say something that it happens along the intersections, and I think there's a lot of I would say preconceived notions that, especially when it comes to poverty, that those are the homes that are most affected in terms of violence. But we see that gender-based violence affect across the economic, you know, rich, poor, rural, urban. It's hard to, apart from the root cause as it relates to gender and some of these constructs, like you say, the men must be the provider, the women must do unpaid care work, which is work in the home, and so that is not supported. And so many times even maybe women and girls themselves believes that, you know, it's okay for them, for violence to be, I think in one of the mixed survey, that if they burn the food, if they not take care of the children right, if they do certain things, that it is okay for their partner to react in violence. And so violence is then normalized, it is then accepted within the cultural context, within the social context. And so this happens sometimes across the board, but a lot of times what we see is that the poorer communities, sometimes the poorer families have to turn to maybe the structures that exist. If you have a little bit more, you know, you could go to your lawyer, you could file for divorce. You don't have to visit, or you don't have to visit the, you know, maybe your family will come and get you. You may not have to go through the courts. You may not have to go to the police station. You may have money to get on a flight and move away and those kinds of things. So a lot of times what we see is the poorer are those with less resources as it relates to the socioeconomic part of the society, is that they are the ones who have to rely on the systems and the reporting systems that are available to them. But I think violence are across the board. However, reaching down to that idea is also a gender construct. For us to say that, well, the man is the provider and the woman must be the stay-at-home person. And so if she is able to, if she is able to get a job, for example, in these kinds of, especially service industry, let's say the tourism industry, or those, the man don't feel comfortable because he feel that he is to be the one to provide, and then so that further perpetrates a kind of.
But that's an outdated way of thinking.
But it still exists.
It still exists.
An example is to be set in the household, right? If you're raising children, you have to have both parents working. When children see mommy and daddy they work, they see some level of equality at the very base of that. Regardless if daddy is a doctor and mommy is a teacher, the fact that they're both working, they're both gainfully employed, there's an example already being set there that the man and woman are on the same page insofar as labor, right? When you see parents engage in certain activities, for instance, right?
For a farm.
Yeah, the mother is inside the house cooking and cleaning, but the father is outside in the yard doing yard work, and they're seeing these kinds of examples, so they understand that they also have a role within that picture, when you have a lopsided scenario where it's only the man who is working and the woman stays at home, kids see that. They see that as, well, why is mommy at home and why is only daddy? Then you have bills. When you have bills where daddy's salary alone can't cover everything, then that's where you begin to have the frustrations. Then that spirals into something else.
Yeah. Because then also, just one point, we have to think about, we have to look at unpaid labor, especially as it relates to whosoever is staying at home, taking care of the children. Because sometimes that decision is made within a family also.
Yeah.
That it is better that one person stay at home and support the children because maybe childcare is not adequate.
There are many children.
So you have a lot of children. You the ability to really make sure your children are safe is not adequate. So whosoever is at home though, taking care of the children, we have to recognize that that is also work.
And
that
it's
is
a decision.
work.
It's a decision that is made
by the family.
consciously by the family. So
And we
it's
have
not-
to respect that. So whether or not, and so this issue, even if we talk about house husband, because then now the idea that comes up, especially as it relates to how we popularize it in cultural music, the woman at the boss, that she run things, for example, that needs to be further clarified. It needs to be further broken down, because when the shoes is on the other foot, you understand me? We believe that, well, the man at the boss, that he run things, and then violence perpetrate on either side, whosoever at the boss, that the boss perpetrate, the person in control, perpetrate the violence. But how you say, well, man, that's good. She is able to bring in the money. He is able to support the home in this way. And so together they make their family, they make it work together.
Yeah.
You see?
I really love that point, Mitch, because at the very beginning we talked about equality and power imbalance. And the reference that continues to be used, and we found this so much in the discussions in the community, is really the person that goes out to work and brings in the money has the power and control. And so if we remove that notion or that desire for power and control, and we start focusing on equality within the household, then the who brings in the money is not a factor anymore. This is what we need. This is the pot of resources we need for this family to function. And so it doesn't matter who brings it in. You know, this is how we're going to create our family, and these are the decisions we're going to make as a family. And we're not doing that really at the base. That's not happening, and that is why you're seeing a lot of what is occurring, including what you mentioned about that undue or unnecessary pressure if it is that a male ends up without employment or so on.
I just want to wrap up this segment because I think that we're here talking about who brings home the money, who stays home, and we could cover so many different topics on this broad. But we also have this perception of being in the home or being a house husband or a housewife is somehow demeaning. And we don't take into consideration that it's actually an unpaid job. It is 100% a 24/7 employment that you're doing, staying at home, cleaning, cooking, making sure that the house is maintained. And we're still not talking about how much work is put into that. We're taking it on like if it's the lowest of the lowest kind of career, which is not. If you're a housewife, I give you my props because I'm not like Ian and I'm not going to do it, right? But it comes with a certain amount of responsibility that we're not giving that credit to as well. So I 100% support this initiative. I'm really hopeful that we try to change our societal norms in some kind of way and create something new for our generations to come. But we're out of time, Ms. Charlene, Ms. Michelle. Thank you so much for coming in this morning. I'm sure you'll be back
the
to talk.
continues,
the conversation continues. We're still in the rabbit hole. We never come out. But thank you, ladies, so much for your time coming in this morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, and thanks for listening. Thanks for having us.
Wonderful. As we head on to the break, when we come back, it's all about the Belize Coast Guard family initiative. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Full-Tech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Full-Tech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Caribbean Sprinter is proud to offer our best available rates to Belize residents online at sprinter.bz. Register today for our Sprinter Rewards program located on the resident section of our website. Skip the line when you book online with online check-in.
How does investment services work? For example, Joe's Construction wants to expand its operations by purchasing new equipment and hiring additional staff. How can Joe's Construction get an investment loan? The answer: Investment Services appraises the loan application and focuses on two key areas: adequate collateral and repayability. Investment Services will also consider how Belizeans and the economy will benefit from this new investment through job creation and business growth. The terms and conditions for Joe's Construction loan will be based on the purpose and cash flow. After recommendation and approval, the loan is disbursed. SSB remains committed to proper management of the fund through prudent and responsible investments for the benefit of its beneficiaries, employers, and the Belizean economy. Social Security Board, an investment for you, your family, your future.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Marian Ali, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes. Go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
Information about a crime or a fugitive in our community? You can submit a tip anonymously with your smartphone. Using this program in safeguarding our community also protects your identity, keeping you out of the court system, and could earn you a cash reward. Here is how it works. Download the free P3 Tips app from the Apple Store or Android Market. P3 is the provider of our secure anonymous tip collecting software. Open the app and create a PIN, but be sure to remember that number, then select your location. Next, select the type of crime. When submitting a tip, be as specific as possible. If you have a picture, video or audio that will help officers, you can upload them from your phone. Information leading to an arrest can earn you a cash reward of up to $1,000. Once your tip is submitted, you'll be given a tip ID and password. Check back if your tip leads to an arrest. You'll be told how much you were rewarded and how to anonymously collect your cash.
And welcome back to our second conversation. If you're joining us right now, it's all about the Police Coast Guard Family Association. And joining us in studio, we have with us Mrs. Isabel Bennett Moody, who is the Senator and Interim President at the BCGFA. Good morning.
Good morning.
We also have next to her on her right, Mr. Andrew Moody, the swim coordinator. Mr. Andrew Moody, the swim coordinator. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Mr. Elton Bennett, the commandant. Good morning. So, the Belize Coast Guard Family Association, why did you think this initiative was necessary?
Yeah, so the Coast Guard has been in existence for 18 years now, moving on to 19 years. We've achieved a whole lot. Operational, we have developed the organization as well. But there's a missing component that we've realized only of recent, over the past couple of years. We do realize that we weren't doing enough in terms of providing welfare services for our enlisted. We weren't doing enough to engage a very crucial component of the organization, the families. When we look back at our Coast Guard strategy, a lot of it was operational and organizational. Right. But that missing component sort of limited us in what we would be able to achieve in a broader spectrum of administration and welfare. So earlier on this year, at our Senior Officers Conference, we started a discussion to explore that initiative that we refer to as the Belize Coast Guard Families Association. And that comes with a lot of exciting opportunities to broaden the scope and horizon of the Belize Coast Guard. So that's where we are in our initial stages, and I'll ask Senator Isabel Bennett Moody to expand a little bit more on those programs.
Good morning, and thank you for having us. Commandant did an excellent job in giving us the historic background of the Coast Guard. Last year we had an initiative that we did in collaboration with the police department that was swimming, and that was the first session that we had. And in observing that, I shared with him, I said the importance of having to look after our own children in terms of the sailors. And so we got our heads together and we decided on the Family Association. And at this point, strategically, we're moving towards implementation of an administrative body. And that will include what we refer to as a national executive. And I always share that just as BNTU, just as the Nurses Association, there's a national executive, and there will be branches in every district as well as the keys in order for us to be able to impact the families of all our sailors from the length and breadth of our country. So that is the structure that we're actually moving towards. And in November, the official executive will be presented to the nation. As it is right now, I serve as the interim president. Yeah.
What has been the reception from the sailors and their families in terms of this particular initiative?
Well, it has been really good. I'm on the ground. I've been doing consultation with the sailors. I am poised to do another session on Wednesday of this week, really. The feedback is that, there's a lot of questions. How is it going to be? How is it going to be financed? What are we going to do? And even as the questions are coming in, there are brilliant ideas coming forward. They would text in ideas or they would send emails stating the type of activities that we can do. We can do balls, we can recognize the sailor, we can do educational sessions on how to establish businesses and stuff like that. So the gamut is wide. So as we continue to hear from all sailors in the different sectors, we will know more and less how fast and how quickly we can actually be on the ground.
What would be the benefits that come with being a part of this association? Because not just because you're part of the Coast Guard means you're automatically a part of the association.
Actually, we have established it and we thought of it like that because remember now, every sailor have the same commonality. So if you are the wife of a sailor, you will know that he will be out for a couple weeks. Even if you're the husband, your wife will be out for a couple weeks. You're there manding the ship at your home. So we have commonalities. So when we think about how it will be impacting, we think about educational sessions that we can do with the children. This is what daddy does. This is what mommy do at sea. This is the importance of his work when he's out there protecting our maritime area. These are the exciting things that he protects when he's out there saving lives, you know, rescuing swimmers. So it's a wide aspect of things again.
Just to add to that as well, when it comes to the decision-making aspect of it, of the Coast Guard as an organization, to have that feedback loop from the families is very key in us moving forward. The Families Association will be able to influence, to a great degree, influence the decisions of the organization, what we do in terms of deployment times, in terms of career development for the officers and sailors. So the huge advantage here is to get within the formal decision-making loop of the organization so they can make influence those decision-making. So it's a new initiative, and the sailors are very excited about it. I think there's a lot to be gained by having this association inside the organization.
Let's get Andrew in on the conversation here. Talk to us about your role, Andrew, in the association and as a sailor yourself.
Okay, so I am the swim coordinator for the program that was birthed through the help of the Family Association. And what I do is I put together a package to give this very vital life skill to young people. And so we first started out helping the police, giving their children this skill. And then now, through the Family Association, we were able to give this program to family members of the Belize Coast Guard. So you're a Coast Guard, your child, your nephew, your niece can come to this program. We had the program for 2 weeks, whereby me and my team, we taught them how to swim from scratch all the way up to being able to swim like a pro, right? And that is my role here, and that is the first program that came out of the Family Association.
Are we looking forward to other initiatives under the Family Association, perhaps to expand beyond swimming classes?
Yes. As it is, the ideas are coming, like I said, from the sailors. Some of the ideas have to do more with a bit of integration of family members into activities that actually happen at the Coast Guard base. It happens, but not to a large extent. So what we're finding out is that the ideas are coming in, say, for example, the sailors would say about retreats. And we have to be able to balance the needs because some of the sailors are saying we want to have retreats with our families, but they want to have it inland because their workplace is always on the sea, whilst the family is already starting to say we want to go to the Keys because that's where you work and we want to vacation there. So it's creating a balance within the association. That's just one. Definitely there's a need for educational exposure to financial literacy. That has been one of the ideas coming forward from the sailors. In addition, they are asking for more social activities in the sense of having to do balls, like what used to happen back in the days. Of course, that's coming from the seniors. But there is still a portion of the sailors that have not been consulted, so the ideas will just keep coming in, most definitely.
Are you all collaborating or looking for sponsorship and support from entities outside? And I ask because, for example, you said it yourself, sailors go out to sea for 2-3 weeks with maybe little to no communication with their families, so maybe partner up with Digi to see how, or Smart to see how they can get better reception out there or something, I don't know.
Well, I think the Coast Guard has done an excellent job in having internet in most of the areas where our sailors are, so that's a good thing for sure. But most definitely corporate Belize would be involved. We're already expanding and thinking of how we can connect or network with other family associations within the region as well as internationally. And so when those exchanges happen, we know for sure that they can not just only be financial, but they can also be technical support that will be coming in.
Is this a first of its kind initiative in the armed forces, or? Sorry, go ahead.
Not really. The Belize Defense Force has its own Families Association.
Okay.
We've also been exposed and we've dialogued with some of those professional militaries that we're very familiar with in the United States, the United Kingdom, and even in Mexico as well, to see how their Families Association work.
Yeah.
So we're looking at different models, and then we'll be configuring that to suit our needs.
Yeah.
But just to go back on those different initiatives, can you
Sure.
imagine the Coast Guard is now 18 years old and we have never had a family's family day or a family sports day or family activity. We've never done that. So these are just some of the very exciting initiatives that we're looking forward to.
Wow. So as you all are continuing to grow, you said that you're having your actual first election in November, October?
The launch. of the association, yes, with our full executive on board. Elections will come at a later time because this is an interim executive. We're putting in the structure. That is our main responsibility. Thereafter, with all our bylaws, etc. in place, then we'll have official elections. So my task right now is, with the help of Commandant and the sailors, is to put that structure in place.
How does this assist the Coast Guard in the longer run?
Definitely more involvement, because I always say you have a sailor, but behind that sailor is the sailors, because we as a family support each of them. And so when they're out there doing their best, going beyond and their call of duty, a lot of times we are the ones supporting them. So when the sailor understands that, you know, he or she is being supported or the family is being supported, that will just continue to replicate, and we'll have better servicemen and women in our country.
Yeah, it is. In terms of what you would like to see in the future,
What
moving
I would
forward,
like to see.
yes.
Oh my gosh. I'm seeing an officially established association that will stand side by side, embracing the vision and the mission of the Belize Coast Guard, where families will be totally involved, as Commandant said, in part of the decision making, in helping the sailors to grow professionally as well as personally. And I'm also thinking about the fact that, you know what, we have our sailors, and yes, at 55 they retire, but there is something about having to provide technical skills for them to be able to survive and be of better, life standards, even after retirement. So it's not just about, you know, we have a little dance and we showcase what's happening at the Coast Guard, or we attend these formal, really nice events, but it's about developing that sailor, but also developing their family members as well.
I think it's a great initiative. I would like to see things like scholarship initiatives for
Definitely.
kids that are
grants,
right?
Yep.
But
it gives a softer appearance of the Coast Guard, to be quite honest with you, because it's dawning on me, as you've mentioned, Commandant, that you haven't heard of a family day for Coast Guard.
And I never thought of that.
Since its inception,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Indeed, and that's how we're perceived, as a strict operational military service. But understand that to have that effective military service, there are sailors who need to have that support system and that family that is so crucial in their effectiveness at sea must be a part of the organization. So whilst we've developed to that point where we have this image and this perception of being a hard, solid military force, it's very important for us to understand the needs of those softer skills and those softer initiatives that will propel us to greater things.
I think it also comes with talking, and that initiative of talking to the family as well, the kids and the spouse or the partner, because we don't know what happens when you all deploy out at sea. We don't know the rigorous effects of being out there, and I can't even understand how you're out there and just looking at nothing for 3 weeks. It's daunting, right? But I don't understand.
You're not looking at that.
I don't understand that, right?
We have stuff
but
that we get done.
But for me, as somebody that doesn't understand, it's important that you discuss those things with the wider public.
It's really nice that you made mention of that too, because then that is what part of the association's responsibility is, to expose the family to the delicateness and the nature of the work to a certain extent, because there are certain things as spouses we should not know because it's military, right? But if every time daddy unplugs or every time mommy unplugs, I'm going off to work and the child is, okay, mommy's gone to work, daddy's gone to work.
Nothing.
I don't know what he does. I don't know what she does. So we'll be exposing them to that. And then one of the challenges is that the kids will start saying, well, oh, that's what daddy do. He goes to the keys and he learns to relax. No, it's not just that. You know, it's he goes out there and he's you know. So there's a balance that we will definitely attempt to create.
Right. Yeah. It's a wonderful initiative.
Well, thank you.
As you all are continuing to do the research and you're going to discuss with various other persons that are part of the Coast Guard and the families as well, how long is that going to take out? How long have you been doing that?
It started officially in May, when the interim structure was in place, and we will officially be putting in the executive by November, because that's when the Belize Coast Guard will be celebrating their 19th anniversary. So we're timing everything quite neatly. The impact, as we continue to put that, we are getting the feedback from the sailors as well. Touching base with international organization for guidance as well.
Well, guys, I'm very, very proud of this initiative. I'm curious to see when you all launch this, how it's going to all come out into play. And I truly respect the work that the Coast Guard has done in protecting our maritime borders. So thank you all so much for coming. Any last words for our viewers this morning?
No, thank you for having us. Definitely a good opportunity for us to showcase the Coast Guard from a different perspective. To look at Coast Guard as not only the individual in that uniform, but when you see a Coast Guard person, understand that he's a family man or a family woman as well, and that your perception of him or her must be deeper than and broader than just the sailor with his or her rifle. There's a good family element to it.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
We're going to take the break, and we'll be right back with the Back to School Expo and the discussion on non-communicable diseases. Stay with us.
With eCash, bill payment is extremely convenient, and all utility companies accept eCash payments. What's even better? You get to split bills with your roommates, siblings, or whoever you desire. Simply open your eCash app, go to Bill Pay, tap the respective utility company, enter the information, and pay the bill. Then tap the transaction made. Tap Split the bill. Select Evenly. Send the request to who you are splitting the bill with, and get notified when they pay. Talk about making life easy and avoiding confusion. You can split the bill for restaurants, grocery stores, and for any eCash payment you make. To find your next yummy meal, hair treatment, or chill spot, simply open the app and utilize the geolocation service to see nearby businesses that accept eCash. Geolocation and bill payment make life a whole lot easier.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Francis Renault Concert Series is back and presents the Electric 80s. Join us at the Bliss Center for 2 nights of colorful performances, starting on Friday, September 1st at 8 p.m. and also Saturday, September 2nd at 8 p.m. Come out as vibrant voices whisk you away, back in time with celebrated 80s hits. Tickets are available at the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts and are $25 for general admission, $40 reserved, and $50 premium. For more information on how to get your tickets, contact 600-7453. Join us for the fun. Join us for the flair. Join us on September 1st and 2nd for an electric event of 80s musical magic. Sponsored by BTV, NCC, Travelers Liquors, Puma, Full Tech Systems, and the Angelus Press Limited. Partners with BEL, Smart, Niche, and PUC.
Make your summer better. Over $30,000 in cash and prizes with Smart Summer Sweepstakes. Here's how you can enter for a chance to win. Sign up for a smart postpaid, broadband, or VoIP plan. Use $100 or more regular prepaid credit. Do a SIM swap or text in to the short code 786. In the body of the message, enter the number of entries you would like to purchase.
No waste no time. You can be the winner of weekly prizes. All methods give you more chances to win local airline tickets, overnight stays at numerous resorts, cash prizes, gift certificates, and much, much more. One lucky person will win the grand prize valued at $10,000, courtesy of Smart and the Belize Tourism Board.
Promotion ends September 15th. So make your summer better by getting in the race to win with Smart's Summer Sweepstakes. Smart, bringing people together.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
And welcome back. We are joined in our last conversation with the folks from the Our Lady of Guadalupe High School in Belmopan and the Ministry of Health and Wellness. And it's all about the Back to School Expo and the discussion on non-communicable diseases. Joining us in studio, we have Ms. Kathleen Azueta Cho, who is the technical advisor in the HECOPAB unit at the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Joining us, we also have Jamie Nunes, who is a student at Our Lady of Guadalupe High School in Belmopan, and Mr. Emil Polido, who is also a teacher and lecturer at Our Lady of Guadalupe High School. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
So it's all about back to school. Of course, we know our students are already back in school. So why the discussion of non-communicable diseases in this Back to School Expo?
So good morning and thank you for having us this today on your show. We are having our first NCD's, North for Belize Back to School Expo. And this is being done in partnership with the Belmopan City Council and with the Ministry of Education. And we have OLAG here being a direct representative or partner. And this is an initiative that we want to have, which is aligned to the National Nutrition Policy that was recently launched. And it's really to promote or reinforce healthy eating and to also help reduce the high rates of non-communicable diseases such as diabetes and hypertension, and of course obesity and overweight in young children, especially our younger population. Right? So we have a dream versus nightmare, I'd say edition, and dream stands for diet, rest, exercise, action, and mindset, and we credit that to the school who came up with with that bright idea.
Can you speak to us a
Yes.
bit more about that idea?
So the Dream versus Nightmare theme or slogan is hopefully a very catchy way and a direct representation. Diet. You want to live a healthy, long life? Diet, rest, exercise. Action. Take action, because a lot of us know a lot about eating and what to do, but we don't do it. D-R-E-A-M, mindset. That probably is the king or the queen. Queen, king. I can eat better. I can take action, right? So that's a little bit. We could create an entire seminar out of the Dream Nightmare logo. What's the nightmare? You keep drinking your 2-3 soft drinks a day or any sugar drink and eating the same ultra refined food. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to blow up in weight. You're going to end up probably with diabetes, hypertension, and the nightmare reality is that our statistic is saying that 36% of 13 to 15-year-old are, is it obese, overweight? Overweight. Guess what? That's a tsunami of health. You know what that's going to cost to an individual economically and to the country, to lost productivity, to barbecues that have to be made to support somebody? How much does a dialysis cost? How many of us know diabetes? So the whole idea is, let's live a dream life. The opposite of that is a nightmare.
We're talking about this statistics that's very alarming in our society. Are the initiatives beyond this expo to revitalize or to reconstruct the foods that are sold in schools and the way that kids are going to be maybe eating better in schools? Because if we're going to talk about diet, you're also reforming the way we teach physical education, the way we maneuver certain lifestyles in school. How often do we get to rest? How often do we get to go into that Zen peace of mind? Students are at it 24/7 doing school, doing homework, whatever extracurricular activities, and they are not thinking about diet, exercise, and maintaining a healthy lifestyle, and just want to pass and get it over with. So how are we assisting that in their social actions in school? How are we achieving this dream into their everyday lifestyle?
So we have the Healthy Habits, Healthy Schools, Healthy Beliefs initiative that we just recently launched, and this is only another initiative that is aligned to that program, and we have currently 18 schools being piloted in the Belize district, and that came through a cabinet paper that was submitted to government, and we got that approval this year in March. And so it's really to start. It's a gradual phase, and we know that behavioral change doesn't happen overnight. And so we're starting through the promotion of healthy foods, encouraging schools to have other healthier options, increasing the physical activity, and also creation of supportive environments. And schools are already equipped to have, that space setting. A lot of the schools, including OLAG, I know some of the schools that are being piloted in Kikaka, for example, they've already started gradually. They have, for example, an all-water day. They have fruits being sold. So it's really just to encourage that and to promote that and to start the campaign. And we're giving it a time frame of 2 to 3 years to really see changes, because it won't happen very fast. And it has to start with the education, the sensitization, trainings of with parents, with our partner stakeholders. And this is one of the reasons we partnered with the school and the Belmopan City Council, because they are the ones that can assist us in the creation of these spaces. So the NCD Back to School, Nofo Belize Back to School Expo is really just to promote or to bring awareness to the great burden that these non-communicable diseases are having on our country. And it's also to promote these healthy behaviors that can then help to reduce the prevalence of diabetes and childhood obesity, which is very alarming for us. It is a public health concern, and this is why we're taking these steps to address that and to prevent premature mortality and physical disability that can manifest in adulthood.
Let's get your take. Let's get your involvement in this conversation. What is your role in this entire expo, and of course bringing the awareness to students like yourself at Our Lady of Guadalupe?
Well, as you're saying, I've seen that we have fruit stands at our school and we are able to just go by, and I'm just here and there advising them to go buy for themselves instead of going to the snack shop and go buying some more sodas. Like diet. You choose what you eat and what you drink, so just have the mindset to have better choices, you know.
As a teenager though, let's be very honest. As a teenager, how do you see your friends and yourself as well have that self-control to eat healthy? Especially if you're on a day-to-day basis of, all right, I just need to get something quick and go back to my studies. How do you maintain that self-control?
The key to having that is consistency, probably. Starting off with limiting like part of it and then getting better at it more and more. Well, for my friends, you know, you always gotta be the motivation to other people around you instead of just leaving them in their own world. So you gotta lend them a helping hand, you know.
And what about this expo? Is it like a class initiative? Is this something that you're doing as a school together? How are the students involved?
Well, I think it's mostly as a school, and our school actually did a video on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the video about?
Dream.
Okay.
From diet to exercise to action to mindset.
Were the kids involved in the making of the theme?
We're hoping to feature that video shortly here, along with the flyer. It exposes the DREAM acronym, and hopefully people will always remember, hey, do I want to live a dream, healthy, long life, or do I want to have a nightmare? You know,
How have students at OLAG taken to this?
We started reducing sugary drinks a few years ago. We don't want to mention name brands on here. And we try to promote natural juices. There's a fruit stand. You asked a very important question earlier, because it's almost like we in the Western world are so externally focused, and we are all prone to various kinds of addictions. Our taste buds are attuned to sugary and salt and spicy and sweet and savory, and so we need a whole lifestyle change. It can be very challenging because we already, years ago, we met teenage diabetics already. I mean, shocking. So our teenagers are already suffering what we call old people disease. They go like, man, you know? And a lot of it has to do with forgetting our beliefs and culture and root. We're not eating okra anymore, and the chaya that could grow in our backyard, and the makal or cocoa by another name. I mean, you know, everything in package, we've been so deceived by URFs in shiny package. Almost anything that is in a package is a URF. High in salt, high in sugar, it's refined. It's not necessarily the best thing. Pull your chaya, your chocho, grow your cassava, your cocoa. We have a lot going for us in our culture that we are not using, and we are so focused on the external, in importing, if it's shiny, if it's in a little package made in the USA or wherever. We think it's the best thing for us.
How do you think students are reacting to these kinds of initiatives? And I always go back to continuity, right? You want that this has longevity, that it doesn't just stop at this expo. So how are you ensuring that this message stays within the mindset of these kids even after they graduate from high school?
Well, It's currently a campaign, and so the messages have to be consistent, ongoing, and a lot of education has to take place within the schools, and that's why we're relying on the principals and teachers. And Mr. Pulido is a very good role model. You know, students will emulate and model what they see. It's not just receiving the messages in the classroom, but also getting the support from our other private and public stakeholders. So for example, at this expo, we have the NCD community that comprises of the Belize Diabetes Association, the Kidney Association. We have gyms that will be out there promoting their work.
Over 23 booths.
Right. We have the nutrition booths, so there'll be counseling and demonstrations on healthy snacks, quick, affordable as well. And so we have to rely on, it's a multi-intersectorial approach that we have to take for it to be sustainable and for it to be ongoing.
Can I quickly add that a win for us is, because you're asking very good question. This is not a one day belly full at Magadal. 1 day of healthy eating, if we make it a lifestyle. So at our school, I'm fortunate that we have an administration that is collaborating. We're taking out an entire half day every month and calling it a wellness and moving day. Entire afternoon. Drop the phones, if our phones aren't allowed. You know, we want to bring, we're going to do yoga, meditation, sports, or even if they just want to hang around, because young people these days, if they hang around with their phones, there's a chance they'll be on their phones. So how about hanging around and actually just talking? So so to that point, as a result of this expo, it helped us leverage having an entire half day. I would have loved to have had 2 a month, but the administration is like, we'll take one as a win.
The setup of the expo, and I keep coming back to the way that you have to reach young people, right? We were young ones. If they force to forget our expo, more than likely you're just going to the wrong, come back, and then not really gain anything out of it. So how does this expo maintain itself in the long run? I'm happy that he brought up the fact that you're doing monthly days of exercise and wellness, but how are you as a ministry and a collaborative ministries making sure or managing or checking in to ensure that this is actually working in the schools?
So the schools have their curriculum in place, so it's really to include those health topics and those messages, and I'm glad to say that a lot of these schools are sharing their best practices and their best experiences with other schools. So we have a committee, and some of these schools are for membership, and they are able to use that platform to share these experiences and to say, you know, these are the steps that we are taking. And it's realistic for us. You set your goals, and which is possible and realistic for your internal teams. And really the curriculum is a very good way of incorporating the messages. And also the NCD Expo, if we're using that, we have a program with activities in place that will engage the students. So for example, we have the senior steppers from Belmopan will be doing a physical performance. We have Miss Karen Rosito, and we have other demonstrations on how to prepare meals and how to take your blood pressure, basic health screenings. And it's really, students are able to absorb a lot of that information. And so that's one way of having the messages ongoing. And we just have to be consistent with it. And I do think this is a great start. We hope to have other initiatives. And this is taking place countrywide, but we are starting in Belmopan, and hopefully we move to other districts with a similar approach. Of course, keeping the context and the cultural setting of those districts in mind as well.
Wonderful. So when and where is the expo?
It's tomorrow at the Belmopan Civic Center, and it starts at 9 a.m. and we hope to finish around 3 p.m.
Okay.
So we have fun activities. We have our Belmopan City Council. We have the mayor of Belmopan. She will be present as well. We have the Ministry of Education. We have our director from the Ministry of Health and Wellness as well. So we really want to make it a collaborative initiative, and we are encouraging the schools in the Belmopan area to come out and to learn some new facts. We'll be giving away raffles, you know, prizes. We'll even have a yoga demonstration toward the end. And it's really, they're easy tips for students, teachers, and parents to follow. And we hope to have a very fun-filled day.
And anybody can come?
It's open to the public, and we're telling everyone, you know, come in your comfy attire so you could get moving. It's really something, you know, even our health insurance companies will be there to promote what they have to offer and help parents and students prepare as they go back to school.
Wonderful. And in terms of Our Lady of Guadalupe, what can we expect from you all at the expo tomorrow?
We donated time and effort into creating this video that hopefully anybody can share and promote, because it summarizes the 5 main life principles. We partnered with the Belmopan City Council and the Ministry of Health, and tomorrow we are going to do a live presentation of actually what is in the video. We are taking a bus at our 4th and 5th period. We plan to spend 2 hours there with at least over 70 students. We can't take the whole school. We wish we could, but that would need about 5 buses, right, and the chaperoning and all that. So we're going to take at least maybe about 80 students.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for coming in, and best of luck with the initiative. I hope to attend.
We'll be in the Belmopan area.
Yes, we'll be in the Belmopan area. But I do hope to see a fruitful future for our young people with this initiative. So thank you all so much for coming in. We got to take the break, and we're going to be back to wrap things up. So stay with us. Don't go away.
Make your summer better. Over $30,000 in cash and prizes with Smart Summer Sweepstakes. Here's how you can enter for a chance to win. Sign up for a smart postpaid, broadband, or VoIP plan. Use $100 or more regular prepaid credit. Do a SIM swap or text in to the short code 786. In the body of the message, enter the number of entries you would like to purchase.
No waste no time. You can be the winner of weekly prizes. All methods give you more chances to win local airline tickets, overnight stays at numerous resorts, cash prizes, gift certificates, and much, much more. One lucky person will win the grand prize valued at $10,000, courtesy of Smart and the Belize Tourism Board.
Promotion ends September 15th. So make your summer better by getting in the race to win with Smart's Summer Sweepstakes. Smart, bringing people together.
It's good to keep the environment clean. BSWAMA, step up the pace. They're going places to manage your waste. So make we stand and make well sure. No garbage left on the seashore. The whole of Belize we stay clean, cause we know say worth much more. We have pretty environment. So when you see the garbage on the ground, go after me and just bag it on.
Cleanliness has always been second nature to us, so let's work together to keep our surroundings beautiful and healthy.
No garbage in it.
Get ready, babe. We're going on a vacation.
Finally, where are we going?
Don't worry, babe.
I have we covered.
Are you sure you know where we're going?
Yes, Bill. Oh, right there, see? Babe, the price me too good to be true. Me look much more better in that picture.
When life throws you a curveball, Belize Bank has your back. With our online financing, you can turn any vacation mishap into a dream getaway.
Cheers to Belize Bank for making our dream vacation a reality.
Thanks to you, babes, to turn things around.
No thanks to you, cheapo.
Ouch.
Experience the future of financing with Belize Bank online, where you can secure funds for anything, from anywhere, at any time, all without stepping foot in a bank. Apply for a loan today and unlock a world of possibilities.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind-the-scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
And we are back, wrapping up our Monday morning show. But before we go away, we would like to motivate you this morning with our eye-opener taken from dailyom.com. And Isani, would you do us the honors, please?
Sure. There will be factors and people that we cannot control. How we respond can determine the quality of our lives. We generally work hard to avoid people and things that we find annoying, so they don't bother us. From a deeper spiritual perspective, however, erosion can be an important teacher and indicator that we are making progress on our path. Being able to remain centered and awake even when we feel uncomfortable is much more impressive than doing so in an environment where everything is to our liking. No matter how good we are at controlling our circumstances, there will always be factors and people that we cannot control. How we respond to these experiences to a great degree determines the quality of our lives. The goal of spiritual development is not to learn to control our environment, which is more of an ego-driven desire. And while having some measure of control over our external reality is important, it is when we are confronted with a person or situation that irritates us that we can choose not to react, that we know have made progress spiritually. The more we try to eliminate annoyances instead of learning to handle them gracefully, the further we get from developing the qualities that come with spiritual growth, such as patience, tolerance, and acceptance. It is often in the presence of people and experiences we find annoying that we have an opportunity to develop these qualities. Fortunately for most of us, our lives offer an abundance of opportunities to practice and cultivate these traits.
Wonderful. I cannot change certain circumstances or people, but I can change my attitude towards the circumstances.
Yes.
Wherever you are this morning, we hope that we have motivated you to do your best to keep a positive mind, even when circumstances push you to another direction. But we got to go, Isane, and we want to thank all of our guests this morning for coming in to have these wonderful discussions with us. And of course, we'd like to thank you, the viewers, for tuning in every morning and choosing us as your morning talk show to go to. As we wrap up, if you have any questions or concerns, you can always drop us a line right here at oye@channel5belize.com. You can catch our live stream on Facebook every day on Open Your Eyes BZ, and all of our highlights on Instagram at OYE Belize. And of course, you can do us again the favor of joining us tomorrow when you open your eyes.
To start your morning right.
Be sure to keep your eyes, your minds,
and your hearts open.
We'll see you again soon, Belize. Have a safe day. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.